We'll start with the Trump one because I've everywhere all over social media. I'm seeing clips of the speech. I'm seeing kind of cringe moments. I'm seeing a bunch of takes from everybody. So I got one here. If you're not too politically inclined, it's okay. I'll dumb this down a little bit. I know some people don't care for these kinds of topics, but it's really important. You know, red pill politics you may not care about, but they do care about you. So essentially what happened is Trump gave a speech at the Israeli Knesset, I believe yesterday it was, yeah. And he's up there celebrating, as usual, the ceasefire deal that he just got for Gaza, talking about how he ended the age of terror, how he got all the hostages released, right? There's 25 living and 28 bodies returned. And Netanyahu standing there praising him, saying that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the conflict, of course. You know, you got him. The man loves his ego and having his head blow up more and more. So, you know, on the surface, you look at this and you think like, okay, no problem. Hostages are home. The war's over. That's good, right? Totally. That's a win. And that is a win. But when you actually dig into what actually happened over the last 9 fucking months since Trump took office in January, the whole America First thing, it starts to look like complete bullshit. And I know a lot of people are going to start rolling their eyes and go like, TDS, but just hear me out on this because we have to hold these people accountable. They don't care about the average person. They're enriching themselves. If you haven't figured it out with crypto yet. I'm going to have to be real here with you. So Trump presided over 9 months of an intensified conflict in Gaza. That's a fact. 9 months where the U.S. supplied billions in weapons to Israel. We're talking precision-guided munitions, intelligence sharing, emergency aid packages that bypass congressional oversight entirely, right? So we're talking $3.8 billion annually in aid to Israel, and that's just the baseline. Then you have the emergency packages on top of all of that, too. And so what happened with all those weapons? Well, the UN estimates that over 67,000, this is the UN's numbers, 67,000 Palestinians killed. Now, you can argue about Hamas using human shields. Yeah, they're pieces of shit. You can argue about Israel's right to defend herself after October 7th. You'd be correct on that too. Those are all fair points. But the scale of the destruction, think about the destruction. You have UN reports documenting intentional starvation tactics, targeting the civilians, guys, children. And the International Court of Justice is looking at genocide allegations. But America will veto or outright bully any international body that's trying to make Israel accountable for all this. It's already happened. And Trump's up there in the Knesset talking about historic dawn of a new Middle East, you know, taking credit for the peace while completely ignoring that he just spent 9 months arming one side of a conflict that's killing tens of thousands, not over 100,000 people. And this is for America first, right? What are you talking about, America first? Okay. So during this speech, where this gets really fucking interesting, by the way, Trump spotlights this woman in his particular speech, and it got really awkward. Her name's Miriam Adelson. She's the widow of Sheldon Adelson. If you don't know who these are, I'll illuminate this for you in a second. And he's praising this woman, right? Talking about how she and her husband visited the White House more than anybody else during his first term. Think about that. More than anybody else. And he credits them with all the major policy decisions, like moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. Think about that. And then Trump tells this story. He says, he asked Miriam Adelson if she loves America or Israel more. And it's on video. And he's making this joke. She says she wouldn't answer, that she refused to say. And Trump is just laughing over there on the podium. It's a fucking joke. But the rest of the room in that moment was silent. It was uncomfortable as fuck. Crickets for a second. Except it's not a fucking joke. That's the problem right there. This woman and her late husband contributed over $200 million to Trump's campaigns. $200 million. And she won't say that she loves America or Israel more? And Trump thinks that's funny. He's bragging about it in the Knesset. That's not America first, guys. That's Israel first with American money and American weapons. Okay? Think about what this means. You've got a major donor, and I'm talking mega donor, who's given hundreds of millions to Trump's campaigns, and the policies that get implemented, right? Embassy move, Golan Heights recognition, opposing Palestinian statehood, expanded settlements. These aren't things that benefit America. These are things that benefit Israel. And they're happening because a billionaire donor made them happen. This is the definition of foreign influence in American politics, isn't it? And before you say, well, Trump's just supporting our ally in the Middle East, our closest ally. Let me ask you something. What has Israel done for America lately? What are we getting out of this relationship besides $3.8 billion annual bill and the entanglement in Middle Eastern fucking conflicts that have nothing to do with us? Nothing with American security. We're not at risk. Okay. You want to talk about draining the swamp, about ending corruption, about putting America first, but you're taking marching orders from donors who won't even say they love America more than a foreign country? Are you fucking kidding me? And Trump has this history it's a weird history with the Adelsons. That makes it even more hypocritical. People don't even remember or know about this one. In 2015, during the primary, he tweeted about Sheldon Adelson being a puppet master for Marco Rubio. And he called them out for trying to buy influence. And now Trump's in there in Jerusalem praising the same family for their influence on his policies. What changed? $200 million. That's what changed. 200 buckaroos. Makes the man change his mind real quick. He's got 200 million reasons to. So let's go back and talk about what happened during those 9 months. On October 7th, we all know Hamas attacks Israel. Worst attack on the Jews since the Holocaust, according to Trump. Absolutely horrific, no question, okay? And Israel responds with massive military operations in Gaza. You get a 2-year war, fast forward. And that's when Trump takes office in January 25. He inherits the ongoing conflict from Bozo Biden. And what does he do? He escalates the arms shipments to Israel. He provides diplomatic cover to the UN. He bombs Iranian nuclear sites. He supplies intelligence. He gives Israel practically everything they ask for, and the conflict intensifies. So conservative outlets, when you look on the news, they frame this as supporting an ally against terrorism, as helping Israel defend herself. And there's truth to that, of course. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They did launch those attacks. Israel has a right to respond. Although, ironically, Israel funded Hamas. Israel needed Hamas as a pretext to go in and take pieces of Gaza, if not outright cleanse the whole area. Useful idiots, you could say. But over 67,000 dead, likely more. The infrastructure is destroyed, and I mean, destroyed doesn't even begin to describe what it looks like. It looked like a nuclear bomb hit that place. You have accusations of ethnic cleansing. You know, the UN is calling it the genocide, and Trump's admins supplied them all the weapons of it. And honestly, let's just be fucking real. It is a genocide, okay? They are ethnically cleansing the territory. And now he's celebrating peace? And he's taking credit for ending what he spent 9 months enabling. I bet you he's actually really happy that he's going to build his Trump towers and casinos and all that other shit there. More money we're spending, billions. We're going to spend billions developing Gaza. Weird. So the ceasefire happens. The hostages get released. Trump goes to Jerusalem, right? Claims victory. Netanyahu nominates him for the Nobel Peace Prize. The same fucking Nobel Peace Prize that Trump's been saying for years that he deserves, but they'll never give him for obvious reasons because it's rigged and all that other shit, like he loves to say. Maybe he does deserve some credit for the ceasefire. His team did negotiate it. He had the special envoy with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner there, and they did get the Arab nations to pressure Hamas. That was good. They brokered the deal. The hostages are home, right? The rockets have stopped. Those are real achievements. So credit where credit is due. I understand. But you don't get to take credit for peace when you spent 9 months supplying weapons for the fucking war. Does that make sense? That's all I'm saying. Okay? So, and I think this is the most important question about this whole thing. Was this even Trump's negotiating genius? Hear me out for this. Or was this a calculated move by Israel? Think about the timing for a second, if you will. Think about what's been happening internationally. Israel was facing massive backlash. The UN reports, the ICJ genocide allegations, the European countries, a bunch of them were talking about arms embargoes. The college campuses were erupting with anti-Semitism, anti-Israel rhetoric. And this is the part that really matters to them because Gen Z is now turning against Israel in record numbers, both conservative and liberal Gen Z. Unfavorability ratings for Israel are hitting like historic highs, above 50%, even for conservative Gen Z. The young people, imagine this. This is the demographic that's supposed to be America's future. And they're looking at what's happening in Gaza and saying like, this is fucked. This is wrong. They're vocal about it too. Obviously, you've seen them in college. Israel's watching this. Netanyahu, he's watching this. And they're seeing the long-term problem. You can't maintain American support if the entire generation is turning against you. And you can't keep the aid flowing if public opinion shifts that dramatically. So Netanyahu starts doing podcast tours, and you've seen them. They're fucking cringy. And Israel starts buying up or partnering with social media influencers, right? They practically own TikTok now, and they got deals with all the other big social medias, and including the influencer campaigns. People are getting $7,000 checks for every good post about Israel. I want my money. I want to get paid. I'll take 7 G's. I think my audience knows, though, if I start glazing, get me kissing walls and shit, they know it's over. Can't do that. So what do they do with all this, right? Think about it. You give Trump his win. You broker a ceasefire. You release the hostages, right? You let him come to Jerusalem and take credit. You nominate him for a Nobel. And you secure another 4 to 8 years of unconditional American support. Because there were rumors Netanyahu supposedly was going around saying that he owned Trump and that Trump would do whatever he told him. And if those rumors are true, and let's be fucking real here, 200 million in Adelson money suggests that might be true, then this whole ceasefire could be theater. I just want you to look at it that way. So Israel gets to consolidate territorial gains. They get to pause so they can reset. And that gets Trump looking strong, right? Which keeps him in power, which keeps the aid flowing. And they stop the bleeding on international opinion before it gets so bad that even American support becomes politically impossible. There's only so many more of these videos and cleansing that could happen before they lost almost everybody. It's getting increasingly difficult for people to even have a conversation without Israel coming up. Like all the main conservative influencers that are, neocons and massive glazers, we'll say that in a nice way, super pro-Zionist, they're getting hammered by questions from the crowd, all dealing with Israel in America first. So this might be Netanyahu throwing Trump a bone. That's what I'm saying. So you let him have his victory lap while Israel gets exactly what it wanted all along. And Trump is in there in the Knesset, like he brokered the fucking Middle East peace deal, potentially, while Netanyahu's probably fucking laughing because he just played the whole thing perfectly. That would be his MO, right? You got 9 months of American weapons to do what you needed in Gaza. Then you got a ceasefire called when the political costs start getting too high. These people are very calculating. You hand Trump a win, wipe your hands of that one. Big ego man feels good, right? And then you secure continued American support. And everybody acts like Trump's a genius. Master negotiator. It's a fucking win-win. Bow tie perfection, no? But that's not America first. That's just being played and being used. You have to wonder, is this even real peace? Or is this just strategic pause? Because you need to understand something about the Likud party. And if you don't know, this is the party that's in power in Israel right now. Their goal, you can Google this, is called Greater Israel. I'm laying this out kind of like basic for the people that don't know any of this shit. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's literally their stated objective. They want all the territory, the West Bank, Gaza, Golan Heights, all of it under Israel control. I'm telling you, a quick Google search will show you as much. And then there's this document that people have been referencing lately. You might have seen it on a bunch of other mainstream creators. It's called the Clean Break Memo. People have brought it up recently a lot. It was written for Netanyahu back in the 90s, and it lays out the entire strategy. It explicitly rejects the two-state solution, abandons the whole land for peace framework, and it calls for forcing Israel, or I should say, it calls it forcing Israel to cultural and economic military retreat. We can't have that, according to the Israelis, of course. So instead, the memo promotes the idea of peace through strength, right? Military power, and where they'll also force Arabs unconditionally to accept Israel's territorial claims. And there mean no compromises, no giving back land, just Israel dominance backed by military power. That's what the memo states. I mean, literally, the memo says that Israel should reject any obligations under the Oslo Accords if Palestinians don't do exactly what Israel demands. It talks about Israel maintaining the right to hot pursuit into all Palestinian areas, which means no Palestinian sovereignty ever, because Israel can just cross any border whenever they want. Isn't that fucked up? Under security reasons. So there was never a two-state solution to begin with. Think about
Isaac,
what this
$5.
means.
All of today's events reminds me of the opening verse.
I'll get to these in a second, boys. So as far as the ceasefire, If the party in power believes in greater Israel, if their strategy document explicitly rejects Palestinian statehood and the two-state solution in general, if their whole framework is about using strength to force Arabs to accept Israeli territorial maximalism, then what is the ceasefire actually? Think about that. It's a pause. That's all it is. A strategic pause to reset, to consolidate the gains, to let international pressure die down. And you give Trump his win, you secure American support for the next phase of what's about to happen. Because the clean break memo, talks about transcending the Arab-Israeli conflict through Israeli strength, not about resolving it, not negotiating a permanent peace of any kind, just using power to force acceptance on Israel's terms. And Netanyahu's been following this playbook his entire political career. He reportedly rejected some of the most aggressive parts, like immediately striking Syria when the document came out, things like that. But the core strategy, rejecting land for peace, maintaining territorial claims, using military strength instead of negotiating, that's all there, and that's all the MO. It's playing out. So when Trump is like celebrating this historic peace deal, when he's talking about the dawn of this new Middle East, you have to ask, how long is this going to really last? Because if the party in power fundamentally rejects Palestinian sovereignty, if their stated goal is greater Israel with all the territory, if that's their strategic framework, and it means forcing acceptance through strength rather than compromising, then it's not peace. This is a ceasefire. And that's a big fucking difference, you guys. Peace means both sides accept permanent arrangement. Two states, defined borders, mutual recognition, done. It ends there. That's not what's happening here. A ceasefire means that the shooting stops for now. Both sides regroup a bit and then prepare for the next round. Which one? And I just ask you, which one do you think this is based on, right? And if you're looking at Likud's greater Israel goals, what do you think? Based on the clean break, the memo's rejection, based on Netanyahu's entire political history of undermining peace processes. The hostages coming home is real. Give them credit for that, right? The rockets stopping, that's good. People are safe. Those are genuine achievements. Yeah, he did have a ceasefire. But calling this permanent peace, calling this the end of the conflict is we're bullshitting now. That might be premature. That's a more politically correct term to use, I guess. Because the fundamental issues aren't resolved. We didn't talk about Palestinian statehood. That wasn't discussed. The borders were not addressed, right? There were no final borders. Nothing got defined. The right of return for refugees were not discussed. Status of Jerusalem still disputed. So Trump's deal didn't solve any of that. Those are core issues. It just pauses the fighting. And if Israel's long-term goal is still greater Israel, we're not dumb. If they're still following the clean break playbook of forcing Arab acceptance through strength, rather than negotiating or compromising anyway, then this ceasefire could collapse the moment it becomes politically convenient for them. And how long is that going to take? Well, it depends on what's going on in the world and what we're distracted by. So Trump spent 9 months arming Israel, billions of weapons, diplomatic cover for thousands of Palestinian deaths, all for what? A temporary pause that lets Israel consolidate territory and prepare for the next phase. That's what this is. Both things can be true, by the way. The ceasefire can be good. The war ending is good. The war ending, that's good. Hostages coming home, that's great. Happy for the people, of course. The killing stops. Finally, these are innocent people that are being murdered, right? But Trump's foreign policy is completely captured by pro-Israel donors who dictate American Middle East policy for their own interest. That can also be true. I mean, you had Ron Paul, he came out and said that Trump betrayed the non-interventionism, that he's prioritizing Israeli interest over American ones, and he's fucking right, dude, that's true. This isn't America first. It's not what it was supposed to look like. America first was supposed to mean no more foreign entanglements, no more endless wars, no more sending billions in aid overseas, while Americans back home are struggling with inflation, can't get jobs like this guy from the earlier super chat, right? Lost, can't afford houses. No more letting foreign interests dictate American policy. That's what it meant. But that's exactly what happened here. Trump campaigned on draining the swamp, on ending corruption, on putting America first, and then he takes $200 million from Adelson's and implements their foreign policy wish list while American interests take a back seat. And he's standing in the Knesset joking about this shit, not saying, joking about Miriam not saying if she loves America more. What? That should make every America First conservative fucking furious, dude. That's not America First. That's America Last. Literally. I don't know. That's my take on the whole ceasefire. I've seen a bunch of them. So someone said ending the conflict is bad. No, ending the conflict is good. But knowing what we know about the Likud party, Netanyahu, and what's the plan for Israel for the future and consolidating power in the region, it's not going to end, and it won't end. They have territorial ambitions, and they will not openly say it, but would like to cleanse the area of undesirables. That's a fact. Okay, that's not a fact. Can't say that's a fact, but that is not exactly a stretch given the historical precedents in the region.